Good evening and welcome into a February 6th, I think, edition of the Monday Huddle. I'm Bruce Hooley. That gentleman you see beside me is Sonny Folks. We're here for the next little while to talk about high school basketball, college wrestling, Ohio State baseball, and anything else we get into. The mailbag, of course. We are happy you guys have joined us on our PressProsMagazine.com social channels. And before we start talking about the things that you are hoping we talk about, we have to tell you why we are able to be joined tonight by such an outstanding connection with Mr. Sonny Folks. And that would be because of our friends at Skynet Internet Services.
What a segue that is. What a segue that is. That's right. We are brought to you tonight by the Skynet Rural Wi-Fi and Internet Company here in downtown Piqua. If you've got bad Wi-Fi out in the country someplace and you have been disappointed, and I think most people who use satellite have been disappointed, you might want to call in the areas of Miami, Shelby, Dark Preble, Logan, Clark, Champaign, Buckeyes, even up into Mercer County.
Wow.
They're dealing Wi-Fi up there, but call the people at Skynet in Piqua. They have done a wonderful job in my residence here in Miami County out in the country. And they, I think, can help you. In fact, give them a call at 773-0098. That's 937 area, of course. And talk to the Grissom brothers. Craig Grissom is going to answer the phone. I know that. That's the most impressive thing about any business. If you call somebody for service and the owner answers the phone and says, I think I can help you, here's what we've done for other people, that's a good omen. So give them a call if you got bad internet anywhere in the counties that I just listed here in Miami, Shelby, Dark Preble, Logan, Clark, Champaign. They travel. They'll find you and they'll fix you. So, again, the number is 937-773-0098. As for Craig Grissom, you won't even have to. He'll answer the phone, and they will help you with better rural Wi-Fi internet. There.
You may have just inadvertently and extemporaneously came up with a great slogan for Skynet Internet. They'll find you and they'll fix you.
They'll find you and they'll fix you.
Could we send them over to the Ohio State basketball program?
No, I don't think there's a satellite anywhere around hovering the earth right now.
Oh, painful.
Could fix that. That was painful, wasn't it? Weekend was painful. The funny thing about that is I was talking to people today out and about, and, people brought up yesterday's game, and you wrote that game as you do always, and you were brutally frank about what you see, and why not? Because everybody saw the same thing you did.
Everybody but Jay Wright.
It's funny. Well, yeah. It's funny, though, that good programs, good teams go through periods of where they just can't do anything right. And you and I were at the Wisconsin game last Thursday night. I sat down there on the Wisconsin bench, and that's what they were talking about on the bench. These guys can't do anything right. Somebody said that right there on the bench, one of their substitute players. And, teams go through that, and it's inexplicable. Coaches try to figure it out. They practice harder. They practice longer. They practice less. They don't practice at all, just trying to get away from it, clear your mind. I really do think it becomes a mental thing, and I think that's a lot of the issues that are going on with Ohio State. You raised a very good question the other day in your questioning of Chris Holtman as to whether there are some internal issues on this team, or is there resentment on this team for the fact that maybe one of the two freshmen is getting a lot of publicity, a lot of exposure, a lot of the points, a lot of the offense is going through sense of ball. And yesterday it was Bruce Thornton.
Yep.
And, that happens. It happens.
Well, it happens when your veterans don't step up. And
it's an internal thing. And the problem is you can't, it's not the kind of thing you're going to publish typically. No. I mean, they do it in the NBA maybe because that sells newspapers. But in a place where it's high school or college, you're not going to hear about that on the outside. And you just got to let that fester as it will and take care of itself over the tincture of time. And I don't know, but they don't look like a team right now that's confident. They don't look like a team that's having fun. And I think that is a huge prerequisite in success and winning. Whether it's high school or college, you got to have fun. And because competition should be fun, it ought to be a challenge. It ought to be something you look forward to. And it doesn't look to me like they're looking forward to the next game.
No, it looks like drudgery, and they play like it's drudgery, and that's why they go through spells offensively. When you're not having fun, every little bit of adversity becomes, not just a minor annoyance. It becomes a major thing. And they go 3 possessions without scoring, and they start pressing, and then guess what? They go 4, 5, 6, 7 possessions without scoring. And so they've got issues on this team. Their veterans are just not very good. Sometimes we look for all kinds of esoteric reasons why a team loses. And sometimes the reason is what you don't want to admit. The players aren't very good.
Yeah, it's right there in front of you.
Justice Suing's not a very good player. He's not a consistent player. He was a very good player 2 years ago, outstanding player 2 years ago. And somewhere along the line, whether it's a compilation of injuries or I don't know what, Justice has lost all consistency. He regularly, and set your clock by this, there'll be a time on Thursday night against Northwestern where he'll have the ball on offense and nobody will be pressuring him, and he'll just flat lose the ball. He'll just dribble it away or fall down and lose the ball. It happened at Ann Arbor. It happens every game. At least once he loses the ball without being pressured. Zed Key, I've had people ask me, boy, you're really hard on college guys. Oh, you're not supposed to be able to criticize college guys. Well, guess what? We are in a new world. College guys are getting paid. They're getting paid more than I am.
Yes, they
are. When you get paid, it makes you a professional. And when you're a professional, you are held to a different standard. And they want to be treated like professionals in that they want to get paid and they want to have free agency and go wherever they want to go every single year and be immediately eligible and not sit out. So we're in a new world. And because we're in that new world, I'm going to treat you like the guys who have been in that world before. And those guys are called pros. And so when Zed Key keeps getting lit up by other bigs in the Big Ten, and when Jake Diebler, Ohio State assistant coach, tells the flagship radio station of the Ohio State radio network that the reason why Zed Key didn't start the second half at Michigan was because he wasn't giving them energy. A team captain, a 2-year starter at Michigan after resting at halftime has energy issues? Are you kidding me? Sometimes I think these coaches don't realize in the moment what they're saying, but that's a huge issue. And so, yes, I am going to be much more critical of players because we are in a new world.
Well, guys like you, of course, and people like writers like you have always stood out, and particularly in this culture today, because, nobody wants anybody criticized. They sit there and look at it and they know it the same. They see the same thing that you see or I see. And I hear about this all the time. We've always been in the habit of telling the truth about what we see at PressPros. And, it's like the article I wrote the other night about the official, the sad state of officiating in basketball right now. And it wasn't critical of the officials at all. It's critical in what we ask officials to do. And that is, instead of just calling contact like they did in 1975, everybody in the stands understood it. Slap on the wrist while you're taking it, that's a foul. Today, you have to evaluate whether that was advantage, disadvantage, all this, like you've got a computer in your head.
It reminds me of what Greg Gard said the other night from Wisconsin about
Greg Gard said, I don't understand. And he said, every time they try to fix it, they make it worse.
They add 8, 9 addendums to the rule when just call what you see.
And
is it a foul or not?
And nobody has an Intel processor between their ears to where they can break all this down in the bat of an eye. And it makes it so hard on the officials. I don't blame officials anymore for missing a charge block call or getting it wrong, because there's so many, as you said, there's so many things to consider. And, when it goes like it did the other night, you've got 3 or 4 that go against Ohio State in the first half. It looks like it really does kind of look, it's conspicuous, in fact.
Yep.
And I don't think I've ever seen a college coach angrier than what Chris Holtman was when he came charging after John Higgins, the official. But, people have written and said to me since over the weekend, man, I just don't think it's right that you criticize the officials. I didn't criticize the officials. I criticized what the officials are asked to do, because the coaches want a more physical game now. They don't want every contact called. They want them to evaluate, and then they'll criticize the official for not getting the block charge, to their liking. And it's really, really a bad situation. It puts officials in a bad light, and nobody understands. It's like Greg Gard said, the coach from Wisconsin. I don't understand. The players don't understand, and worse yet, the people watching this have no idea what they're.
That's right.
That's the people that really get mad, and then that gets the whole thing really rolling. And now you got a bad situation like you had the other night.
You do. Well, let's talk a little high school basketball because we got a lot to talk. We had a big weekend at Press Pros. We are very appreciative of our Central Ohio audience. They are finding our pages in droves every weekend. Saw a phenomenal girls game on Saturday night, Olentangy Liberty, which off its win at Marysville is in the top 10 in Division I, but they are not ahead of Marysville. Marysville is ranked 7th. Liberty is 8th. Pick Central is 9th. I will see Pick Central tomorrow night against Dublin Kaufman. So I'm really looking forward to that. Kaufman was in the top 10 for a long time until Liberty beat them by about 30. But Kaufman has still continued to win since that time. So Division II girls, defending state champion Kettering Alter is number 1. I anticipate they're going to be a monster regional final or maybe a monster state semi or state final because Cincinnati Purcell Marion, which was very impressive last year in winning Division III with a set of players that were pretty much all freshmen. Purcell Marion's moved up to Division II, so that's where Alter is. In Division III, Worthington Christian is your number 1 team. Afrocentric is 6th. Bethel, good for you, Bethel, is tied for 10th. And in Division IV, it is populated by teams from the original Press Pros area. Brad Gray's team. I get my Tri-Village coaches mixed up. Josh Sagister's daughter, Riley is the point guard on the girls' team. And Brad Gray does a tremendous job with the Tri-Village Lady Patriots. They are number 1, 22-0. Fort Loramie, Carla Siegel, number 2. Marion Local, number 5. And Russia in the also receiving votes category. Paul Bremigen as a coach at Russia?
Paul Bremigen.
There you go.
Well, so there's our girls coach at Russia. So he's done a great job there. Somebody every day, there's so much excitement. The draw was last weekend for the girls. The tournament starts here in about a week. The first round games aren't very much fun because you got 16s playing against 1s and I don't know why they do that except for this tradition of everybody gets a shot in the tournament. And I have people like Bob Hulsman that says, well, you live for that day when 16 beats a 1. Well, it doesn't happen often enough to charge $10 or $12 or whatever they charge to see somebody get beat 86-8.
Do they do running clock in the tournament, or do they play it all the way through?
No, they play running clock. They play running clock. But, I've always kind of advocated that if you don't win 8 games during the season, maybe you don't make the tournament. Just like football does. There is some kind of standard. Of course, that standard's going away now with 16
gone now.
In the region. But, the early games aren't very competitive. But by the time you get to a sectional final and a district semifinal and a district final, it is such a treat to go out and watch those kids compete with something like that that's at stake and on the line. So this is a great time of year because you get the best of basketball, and college baseball, by the way, starts next Friday.
That's right. College baseball does start next Friday, and we will get to that. But let's go to our boys poll. In Division I, 2 teams from Central Ohio, 2 teams from the same district. Olentangy Orange and Olentangy Liberty are ranked 3rd and 4th in the state. In Division 3 and 4, that's Anthony Kalo's Orange Pioneers and Greg Nosseman's Liberty Patriots. Also, the defending state champion, Pick Central, with Devin Royal, future Buckeye, coming in at number 9. Westerville North in the also receiving votes category. In Division 2, Columbus Bishop Reedy, who we have covered, they are undefeated. They are on top of the poll. Chaminade Julienne with Michigan recruit, former Ohio State commit, George Washington III. Chaminade Julienne coming in at number 2 in Division 3. I believe they're the defending state champs. Lutheran East, I think. They are on top. Miami East is number 3. Afrocentric is 6th. Worthington Christian 9th. And Preble Shawnee is 10. And then we drop down to Division 4. Richmond Heights is on top of the poll. Scott Elkert's Jackson Center Tigers are 2. Spencer Cadonier's Russia Raiders are number 4. Kurt Gedemiller's Marion Local Flyers are number 6. And Ray Zawadski's Troy Christian Eagles are number 8. So we got 2, 4, 6, and 8 in the Division 4 boys bowl, Sonny.
I've seen every one of those Division 4 teams that you just listed play this year. And again, the mail that we get, people are interested because they read now about the Shelby County League and the MAC in Trumbull County and Cuyahoga County and Lake County and Williams County and Wood County, Lucas County, other places. And people are interested. Are they as good as they are in football? Well, the Shelby County League does not play football, folks. But their basketball teams at Jackson Center and Russia, neither of which play football, they spend all that time in the fall shooting free throws and jump shots. And I'm going to tell you, those two teams can play. Scott Elkert's team at Jackson Center, they've always played good defense. I don't think I've ever seen them play with more athleticism than what they're playing right now. And the other thing that makes this team, I think, stand out over others, and he told me this over in the summer, and I said, yeah, we'll see. But they have 3 legitimate outside shooting threats there now. They never had that before. They would have a kid named Sosby or somebody like that who could shoot to 3, and he'd have to put up with a junk defense or a 2-3 zone or a matchup or something like that where they would have to attack that outside shooter. They now have more than one in Mullenauer and Fark and Grant Elkert and a couple other, Bryson Robertson, some people like that who have made big threes for them this year. So I think if they turned it loose and they wanted to run with somebody, they could probably score 60, 70 or more points. That's not the way they play the game. They're going to control the game. You're not going to get anywhere near that kind of point out.
Yeah, no.
And they just wear people down. They're very impressive. Russia is a little bit like them, quicker, probably even more athletic. 5 guys on the court that can shoot it. I've seen it. You know, they can fill it up from 3-point range. And Hayden Quinter, who is a young man up there who's just a junior, has really flourished this year, has come into his own, maybe more than any athlete I've seen in 4 or 5 years, of just suddenly he has evolved into an outstanding basketball player for the Russia Raiders. So happy for them. Marion Local, of course, got the big size with Kanapke and Niekamp.
Yep.
They played very, very well on Friday night in the game that we saw them win. And, you know, they're teams around here. Coldwater, we saw them against Coldwater. Coldwater, you know, had a good run. I think at one point had won 5 of 6. They were undefeated in the MAC there for a long time. And the other night they just got exposed a little bit because of the size of Marion Local, 2'6'9" kids. And they got Jaden Mesher back, who's their featured shooter from 3-point range. And all he did was come out, and his first 2 shots was 3-pointers from another zip code. He hit them both, and that just set a bad tone, you know, for Coldwater. So these teams that you just listed there from the area, and Ray Zawatsky, by the way, they beat a very athletic Northridge team the other night, and the whole team had the flu. I mean, sick as a dog, and beat Northridge. Kind of slowed the game down a little bit, made them play their pace, and won it by 5 points, 50-45 or something like that. So these teams are all legit here in the area.
The girls tournament actually starts this Saturday. We've got Fairlawn, Fort Loramie, Houston and Versailles, Jackson Center and Lehman, and Russia and Triad. Those are all sectional semifinals on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday, February the 11th. Tomorrow night, we've got a monster girls game. Not in conference, but we've got Fort Loramie at Marion Local. Fort Loramie at Marion Local tomorrow night in girls basketball action. And then the Fort Loramie boys are playing at New Bremen. Haven't heard you say much about the New Bremen boys this year. I know they've got athletes. A lot of got a late start because of New Bremen State Championship in football. You've seen New Bremen play basketball, have you not? The boys team?
Seen them 2 or 3 times. Here's what I'll say about them. They got a late start because of football, like Marion Local does. I think it has taken them a little bit more time to get to make the transition, because you look at Niekamp and Jack Kanapke at Marion Local, they're 2'6'9" kids. Neither one of them play football.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you've got a piece so much together, the parts together, like Corey Stevens does at New Bremen, it's taken them a longer time. It's still a very dangerous team. It's an athletic team. David Holman the All-State quarterback that
Mhm.
led him to the championship in Division VII in football, is runs a point for them. Aaron Tiemann, a very fine shooter at the off guard position. We've got a little size inside. I would not want to play them in the tournament one and done, because they're the kind of team that can put it together on a given night. Plus the fact, you know this as well as I do, teams like that can get on a hot streak for 4 or 5 games, and the
Yep.
next thing you know, your best laid plans are in the ditch. So they can play. I'm not at all concerned about their seeding or what their record is. If they're healthy, they can play, and they are dangerous.
Well, we've got some really quality games on the weekend over there in Mack and Shelby County League country. On Friday night, Loramie is at Russia
Yep.
in the FCL. And then on Saturday night, wow, good luck, Spencer. Marion Local comes in to play Russia at Russia.
Yeah.
So those are some big time games that I would imagine will be attended and covered in the way that only Press Pros Magazine can.
Yeah, you're going to see Press Pros at those games. And, that Marion and Russia game on Saturday night, I think, is as good a game as will be played in the state. Now, anybody can look down their nose at me from Division One or Division Two and say, yeah, nobody's going to dunk and nobody's going to do a 360 or some. It doesn't matter.
Well, I wouldn't bet
For
on Canopy in that
and for
game.
physical play and for just sheer competitiveness and respect, by the way, mutual respect between the two programs, you can't beat it.
All right. We have also added to our coverage offerings this year a new sport. We are the only site that covers Ohio State baseball. And we knew that this year would be quite likely a banner year for Ohio State wrestling. And indeed, so far, it has been a very good year for Ohio State wrestling. Last Friday night, they had number 1 Penn State coming in to the Covelli Center. It was sold out. They would have sold probably 15,000 tickets at Value City Arena had Value City been available. It was not, because Ohio State had a home hockey game with Penn State on Friday night. But the Penn State wrestling team is, well, just think UCLA basketball in the 1960s and 70s. Penn State has won 10 of the last 12 NCAA wrestling championships. If any of you remember the name Cale Sanderson from back in the day at Iowa State, he was undefeated as a college wrestler. He went back to Iowa State after winning an Olympic gold medal to coach wrestling. He was there a couple of years, got very close to winning a national championship at Iowa State. Penn State offered him its head coaching job, and he jumped on it because really geographically you can't be located in any better spot than Penn State, because you can pull wrestlers from Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. Those are wrestling hotbeds. In Penn State, they have, get this, of the 10 weight classes in wrestling, Penn State has 5 of the reigning national champions, including 3 two-time champions. So it was no disgrace that Ohio State did not beat Penn State on Friday night, but they bounced back on Sunday with a win at Northwestern, and they will have Nebraska at home on Friday night in a dual meet. And Sonny, you have some correspondence from our readers that confirm that there is a fair amount of interest in Ohio State wrestling out there among the Press Pros audience.
Well, this is the one that'll make you grin, because you have been writing and doing a super job at writing Ohio State wrestling, and I didn't even know you knew what a turnbuckle was before this season started. Got a nice email here over the weekend from Mechanicsburg, Ohio. Hey, love your guys' coverage of Ohio State wrestling. By the way, didn't know if you knew it, but Caleb Romero is from Mechanicsburg. Did you know that, Bruce?
I mention that every time I write about Caleb, although I might not have mentioned it in the Penn State story now that I think about it. But
well,
yes.
I appreciate this person for writing, because it was a very kind letter. And Joe from Urbana, also in Champaign County, wrote and said, hey, I love the coverage of Buckeye wrestling. It's exciting to read it. The photos are great. Wondered if you'll be covering the OHSAA finals in wrestling coming up here in a few weeks. And Joe, that is a game time decision.
That's a hard one to know, because
it is because kids. You don't know who's going to be there.
Right. And you're going to leave somebody out, and somebody's going to be mad, and we will look at that.
The other thing is, Joe, there's just an awful lot going on at that time with tournament basketball. We got NCAA baseball starts here a week from this Friday. And so we got a lot of moving parts at Press Pros, and that also is right about the time of the state bowling tournament. So we try to distribute ourselves the best we can, appreciate the kind words and a question about whether we can be there or not. But Bruce is right. The bowling or the wrestling thing is kind of a dicey thing to try to figure out how to allocate your personnel, because if you don't have the kids that you really go there to cover and see and write about their special moment, if they don't make it there, it's a whole different ballgame.
I'll make a prediction. Lakewood St. Ed will win Division One. They're the Penn State of Ohio
Yeah.
high school wrestling.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. So yeah, but we enjoy the wrestling. And here's what I'll say about the wrestling. It is such a different world covering wrestling from covering Ohio State football or basketball. Back when I began covering Ohio State football or basketball, you were able to get real conversations with the guys playing the sport. You were able to get a private conversation with a coach. Now I understand why that's not possible. There are myriad sites and media entities and television and radio stations that all have a deep and abiding interest because of the fan interest in Ohio State basketball and football.
Mm-hmm.
But the minor sports at Ohio State don't have to be as selective in how they make their athletes available. And so it is nice to be able to actually get to know the kids a little bit, have them not be quite as guarded, have them not be quite as sought after by a host of media people after their particular competition. So that has been a little bit of a trip into the Wayback Machine for me to get to have a one-on-one conversation with an Ohio State athlete. Those don't happen very often anymore.
Yeah, it's the same with baseball. A lot of people now are interested in Ohio State baseball. We've been writing and profiling, doing some of their players and coaches and things like that for the better part of the month, because the season starts next Friday in Florida. And it is amazing. Now, I spent several years around professional baseball as in the minor leagues and in spring training and as an umpire. And I saw how difficult it is. I know how difficult it is to get one-on-one time, like you said, with a Major League Baseball personality. By contrast, to go to Ohio State, they're hungry to have people know more about that program. They want people to have a relationship with Ohio State baseball, Ohio State wrestling in your case. They want to get the good word out to people that we are accessible. We are a good entertainment value. We are worth rooting for. We do have a personality that you'll appreciate, because look, we came from a hometown just like yours. So if you come to Bill Davis Stadium, or if you go to the Covelli Center to see wrestling, and you take the time to come down and you want to say, hey, good job, we enjoy the wrestling, go Bucks, best of luck, we would love to meet you and have that kind of relationship with the fan base. And as you say, that's just not possible with football. So it is a whole different ball game, like you said. It does harken back to the 60s and the 70s and the days when the whole world was that way. I remember going to Cincinnati Gardens with my dad and going down to courtside and talking to Bob Pettit and Bob Cousy and people like that. You'd never do that again today.
No, you would not. I think I have an old Cincinnati Royals program around here somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to lay hands on that one. Okay, Sonny, what else? Let's talk a little Ohio State baseball. You say they're starting it up next Friday. Is that typical Fort Myers tournament that they play in? Are they headed to that one or some other place?
It is the Snowbird Classic, but Ohio State plays a 4-game series. It's not a tourney. They're playing a 4-game series with University of Connecticut. Now, you say Connecticut. How can that be? What kind of baseball program can that be? Well, Connecticut is very good in baseball. And in fact, they were eliminated last year by Stanford University in the super regional round of the NCAA tournament. They were 50-16 last year, as opposed to Ohio State that finished 21-30. So this is going to be a big chunk to bite off for the Buckeyes coming out of the snow and going down there and playing a 4-game series back to back to back with one of the best teams on the East Coast. But that's why that they play the game. It's still about throwing strikes and hitting the ball and catching it and throwing somebody out and finishing one run ahead. I've had a lot of conversation and question with people wanting to know. In fact, Ken wrote to us tonight from Bucyrus, Ohio, and asked, "What about how do you compare the new coach Bill Mosiello with Greg Beals, and what are the Buckeyes going to be like this year with a new coach? Well, it's still the same game, Ken, and I can't for sure tell you that they're going to be 31-20 instead of 20-31. I will tell you this, that the new staff that has come in has really hit the ground running. They're working very hard in recruiting. They have changed, I think, the personality. I think this program right now understand. I think they're embarrassed a little bit, to tell you the truth. In 21-30, I would be. I think they were embarrassed by leading the Big Ten in errors last year, by leading the Big Ten in home runs surrendered, by leading the Big Ten in the least number of double plays turned on defense. Their walk to strikeout ratio last year was not good. They struck out, I'm going to say 300 hitters, but they also walked half that many. So it's hard to win when your earned run average is 6.58. And their pitching staff really struggled last year to keep with free bases, walks, errors, a lot of free runs that scored last year. So they've come in, this coaching staff, and identified these issues and said, gentlemen, we just can't win if we don't play better. And if you don't play better, there's going to be somebody here next year that is going to play better. And I think that's about all the motivation you need when you're 19 or 20 years old. You're a proud athlete. You're proud to play for Ohio State University. And you don't want to finish 11th in the Big Ten.
Well, there's news on the Ohio State baseball front. A young man by the name of Gavin Meyer from Ileana Christian High School has committed to play baseball at Ohio State. He is a sophomore in high school right now. He's 6'5", a right-handed pitcher, 6'5", 193, fastball up to 85 miles an hour. Class of 2025. So did you know this? This just now came across Twitter. Well,
no, I'm not aware of that. But what matters next Friday is that they've got 4 starters, candidates for starting pitching on the weekend, and they all throw in the 93 to 97 mile an hour range. So 85, I'm sure Gavin is a great prospect, and by the time he gets to Ohio State, he's going to add to that fastball. But they've got a young man that's a transfer from the University of Texas. Justin Eckhart, who is new to the program this year, one from Portland, Oregon, by way of transfer from, of all places, Xavier, who played at Xavier last year in Cincinnati. He's new. Josh Timmerman, a JUCO transfer, is new. So they've got a lot of new arms and a freshman closer in their bullpen from Canfield, Ohio. We know something about Canfield High School. And
we do? Maybe you ought to say you do, because I don't know much about them.
Well, you sat there and watched it in the state football finals. Canfield won, South Range won, both from Canfield,
that's right.
Ohio.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they got athletes on those teams.
I'll just tee it up for you, Bruce. You got to hit it down the fairway, okay?
So, yeah, my bad.
Anyway, Landon Beidelshees, who's about 6'3", maybe a little bigger than that, but he throws the ball really hard. And as a left-hander, they're counting on him to be their closer this year. Tremendous opportunity for some of these young kids to come in and make an impression. So, yeah, they're combing the countryside for athletes.
Well, that's good, and hopefully they'll have a good year, because I know how much it hurts you when the Ohio State baseball Buckeyes struggle, and I wish them good success, and whatever they do, you'll be all over it.
Listen, I'm baseball 365 days. I even have the obligatory hat to wear. So I didn't know if you would have a comment about.
Well, I mean, not everybody can have a Major League Baseball team
with their initials.
Put your initials on their hat. I'm pretty impressed by that. When I saw that early in the broadcast, I was trying to think if there are any BH teams out there, and if there are, I'm unaware of them. So.
I don't know. I don't know about any.
Did you ever find your comparable jacket that you left in the Reagan Airport on our trip to Duke, or not?
Yeah, I did. I got a replacement for it. It's not the same as the one I had, but that one was beginning a little dog-eared, a little tired, if you will.
Okay.
So it was due to be retired anyway. So
Oh, all right. I thought maybe one of the kind customer service agents at Reagan National found your coat and sent it back to you.
I will tell you this: people who are coming out to see the Buckeyes play this year, they have some a sharp new look. They have gone. They got one of their home uniforms is now sort of the not so much a white. It's more of a beige white. And it looks pretty good. I saw the mock of it the other day, and they look pretty sharp. There's a lot of things that I think are going to change. They have an all new turf field has been replaced this year. Of course, they play on artificial turf because it's in
Mm-hmm.
the climate, and so that's been changed. Their marketing department over there is talking about things to attract more people to the stadium. I think that Bill Mosiello and his staff, if they win games over the next couple of years, and they prove that they can have sustainable success, I think they're going to give the Columbus Clippers an April and May run for their money. Of course, weather's got a lot to do with that, but it's cold for the Clippers too. I think people want to come to Bill Davis Stadium and spend $10 and not $30 or $40 for a seat, and watch good Division I college baseball, because they do play good baseball. Somebody says, "How good is it?" Well, it's better than the Dayton Dragons. Frankly, if you're a baseball aficionado and you want to see plays made, you want to see the ball thrown to the right base, you want to see the hit and run, you want to see bunts put down, you want to see the little fine details of baseball played well, and you won't see it better than what the college teams do it, because they only have 56 games, and every one of those games counts towards making the NCAA tournament. So they're very well schooled. They play great baseball, and just like we said a moment ago, it's a great place to take your kids, go down, see the players up close, develop some of those relationships, and have a good time.
Now, would you happen to have a schedule in front of you there that you could tell people when the home opener is and maybe who the first Big Ten series opponent at home is?
The first Big Ten series is the last weekend in March. Yeah, the home opener is against University of Dayton. I think it's the 15th, 16th, 17th weekend of the 15th, 16th, 17th, something the close to that. I don't have it right here in front of me. In March, their Big Ten opener is on the road in Bloomington, and
That's a tough place to start, is it not?
that's a tough place to start. The Hoosiers play good baseball, and then I think they come back the next weekend with their home opener, and that would be against, I think it's Minnesota is their home opener this year, first weekend in April.
All right. Is Paul Molitor involved with the Minnesota baseball program, or only as a legacy?
He was only involved when I was there about 50 years ago, and he wore me out. I will never forget Paul Molitor and Dave Winfield. You have never really experienced heartbreak in baseball till you try to pitch and get those kind of guys. I used to laugh and say that Paul Molitor one day went 5 for 3 against me. I said, "How can you do that?" And I said, "Because when he hit the ball, it just looked like a pinball machine. Him running around the bases, it's just like he was never going to stop." I don't know how many total bases he had in that one particular game that I'm thinking of, but he was just a fantastic college baseball player. Of course, he was pretty good in the major leagues. He's in the Hall of Fame now.
Yes,
And
he is.
then he bats 3, and Dave Winfield bats 4. That's a pretty good lineup.
That is a pretty good lineup, which that should tee you up for a piece you just wrote on PressProsMagazine.com about the all-time Ohio State baseball lineup.
Yeah, that was fun to do. Somebody actually at Meet the Team the other night asked me that question. Hey, look, you guys been doing this for a while. Who would be your all-time opening day lineup? And we put that on the homepage today, and you can read that. It'll be up there overnight till tomorrow until we write basketball over the top of it tomorrow. But that was fun, getting digging up some of the stats and the stories and the photos of Ronnie Dawson and Nick Sergakis and Dominic Canzone and Connor Pohl from Arcana, right over here in Dark County. He was our all-time first baseman over the last 10 years if he had a starting lineup to put together this weekend. It was fun to go back and look at some of those guys, where they are now. Dominic Canzone will be the next outfielder brought up in the big leagues by the Arizona Diamondbacks. He had a fantastic AAA season last year. Best hitter I've seen at Ohio State in the modern history of that program. Hit 299 last year, had 22 home runs in AAA, and he's done well. Jake Bokiokovic has done well. He's a reliever in the Cardinal organization. Ronnie, help me out.
I can't help you on Ohio State baseball history.
No,
Then
it's
I'm
right there
sorry.
on the page in front of you.
Oh, I don't have the page in front of me. I thought you'd have it committed to memory.
Yeah, I don't have it. I can't. You know how I am with names. Ronnie Dawson, that hit the big home run in 2016 Big Ten tournament to beat Michigan State, is with the Reds now in AAA at Louisville. So, yeah, it was kind of fun to put that together, and we had it. A lot of readership this afternoon and today with people excited about baseball starting next weekend. Believe it or not, there are a lot of people in the state of Ohio who are interested in amateur baseball. And I would consider Ohio State to be the Mount Rushmore of amateur baseball in Ohio.
Well, fantastic. As we get ready to wrap up here, anything else in the Reader Speaks column that your Reader Speaks inbox, rather, that you'd like to share before we bid everyone a pleasant Monday evening?
Well, we talked about officiating, at the top of the show, and the column we wrote about officiating as it pertained to last Thursday night show. We'll dig into that a little bit more in a succeeding show, maybe next week. There have been a few excellent emails and texts and communiques that we've received about officiating, because Bruce, you've written about this, and you and I have talked about this exhaustively, about concern over what the future of basketball is going to look like. It gets bigger and faster and more contact, to the point where skill and skills aren't very important in basketball anymore. The kid that can shoot, if you can shoot, we're going to send somebody and we're going to beat you up, and you're not going to be able to shoot. And frankly, if the official has to sit there and watch you get hacked on the arm and decide whether it's advantage, disadvantage, or something like that, maybe we get a bye with that. Maybe they don't call it. Maybe they let those calls go on a particular night. And, I am concerned about the future of basketball, because I think the nature of the game is skill. It's the ability to put the ball in the hole. That maybe I'm old by saying that, when you go back and you think about guys who were great shooters, like Dave Bing. You don't even remember Dave Bing, but Jerry West.
I remember Dave Bing, number 21, Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, from that era. That game doesn't even resemble what is being played today. And, we like it because it's more active, it's faster, and we think that the more athletic kids get to portray themselves, a better chance that they're going to get an opportunity to play beyond high school and everything like that. But it doesn't. You just have to watch it, and you wonder, how far do we let this go before we rein it in? And again, the other issue is there is a diminishing number of officials willing to work, because the game is getting harder to work. A lot of people feel like the crowd abuse is not worth $75, especially if you have to drive an hour to get to an assignment. And so where's the next generation of officials going to come from? They are doing everything they can by telling people it's a great way to get exercise, make some extra money, be cool with the kids, stay in touch with your community, come out and be an official. Well, it's not that easy when you have to go through what happened last Thursday night in a Big Ten basketball game. And sad to say, sometimes things like that do happen in high school basketball games. We've seen them.
Yeah, we have seen them. Maybe we'll get to the point with artificial intelligence where we'll have AI referees.
Well, who do you yell at then?
If we do,
I don't know.
Can I make a request? I saw a video tonight online of a robot. It was a artificial intelligence robot. It looked like a real person. But could I make a request? If we do go with AI referees, could somebody please program in what a palming the ball violation is? I'm going to start a crusade to bring back a palming the ball violation. I have seen not one called yet this year, and I want to know if I can go through an entire season, college, high school girls, high school boys, and not see one palming the ball violation?
My crusade would be for somebody to justify the Euro step.
The Euro step, yes.
The Euro step, because that's just plain out flat walking.
That is traveling. Yes, it is.
And that is traveling, and nobody calls it. Oh, no. It's part of making the game more interesting, more athletic, and it coincides with the skill level of the players. It's traveling. It's walking with the ball. It's a violation. And, we just keep getting farther and farther and farther away from discipline in everything we do in our culture. And the tail is wagging the dog in basketball, just like it is with a lot of other things.
We would be remiss, I think, if we were on the Press Pros Huddle show on Monday night of Super Bowl week and did not give a Super Bowl prediction. I'm sure you've given it as much thought as I have, which is none. But would you care to make a prediction on whatever Super Bowl number this is? XXLIVMQRT.
Well, first of all, I have not seen the Philadelphia Eagles play one time this year.
Okay.
I have no idea.
We're dead even then. We are dead even.
I know that Jalen Hurts is the quarterback.
Yes.
I think
Jalen Hurts, who was taken out of the national championship game at halftime because he couldn't complete a pass.
When he was at Alabama.
He burst the legend of Tua Tagovailoa.
That's how Tua got his start.
Yes.
I think one of the Kelsey brothers plays.
Travis plays for the Chiefs and Jason plays for the Eagles. They are the first brothers to oppose each other in the Super Bowl. Mrs. Kelsey, Super Bowl MVP.
I know something about sports, but I'm going to admit to you, those are the only two names that I'm familiar with on the entire Eagles roster. I know that their coach is Nick Sirianni
from Mount Union.
And let's go back to the Kansas City. I know a few, maybe more players there just because they have been around and been in the public eye longer. I wouldn't have any idea about who to guess is going to win that game. They play it at a neutral site, so there's no advantage there. But the
referees were certainly determined for the Chiefs to win the AFC Championship game. So I don't know if that changed or not.
It appeared so. Not a lot of good things happen for Philadelphia teams. If you go back historically and you go all the way back to the Philadelphia A's, the old Philadelphia Eagles, who lost in 1960 to who? Vince Lombardi and the Packers. In a world championship game back then. The 76ers have struggled. The Phillies have struggled for years. I would say just based on history, I guess I would kind of lean toward Kansas City.
Well, I'm sure Andy Reid would love that. He would love to beat his old team. But I don't know. It just kind of seems like the Eagles' year to me. Everything's been going the Eagles' way. So just to make it interesting, I'll pick the Philadelphia Eagles.
You can have them.
You can put a plus. My one of my wife's bridesmaids is a big Eagles fan, and one of my wife's best friend's husband is an Eagles fan. So I must root for the Eagles.
I will say this about Mahomes: Patrick Mahomes is a magician on the field as far as being able to see the field and recognize his options. As far as getting rid of the ball on time, that's a skill. That's a gift. And I don't know if I haven't seen enough of Jalen Hurts to know if he can do that or not. Because you're saying they have a good roster, obviously, and they've been healthy this year, with the exception of the time that he missed with a bruised shoulder. So I don't know that much about him. And people say, "How can that be?" And you guys are doing a sports show. I don't have that great of an interest for the National Football League.
No, I don't either. So that's no. We're invested in the sport at its purest level, which is the high school level and selected college level players, baseball, wrestling. We cover basketball and we cover football because we know that you, as our readers, have an interest in it, and we have an interest in it. But we see it for what it is. It is a big time business. It is not really the essence of college sports as it used to be. So,
well, I can proudly say, if you want to know something about the Russia Raiders and the Jackson Center Tigers and the Marion Local Flyers and the Troy Christian Eagles, I can tell you about those chapter and verse, but that's still, like you just said, that's still thrilling to me. I love to see kids learn the game, learn to play, grow up, mature, discover their skills and how to use them, and the thrill of winning and competing and its value and what it does for you the rest of your life. That's worth a lot more to me than the Lombardi Trophy.
Yes, I agree. Well, we look forward to our games of note. We said it earlier, the Loramie girls at the Marion Local Girls. That one is tomorrow night. Also, Pick Central and Dublin Kaufman, another monster girls game in Central Ohio. That's 2 top 10 teams in Division I. Friday night, Fort Loramie's at Russia. Friday night, we have, I can't off the top of my head remember, it's a game at Olentangy Orange, which is number 3 in the state.
By the way, Olentangy Orange, whoever picked out their uniforms, outstanding.
Yeah. I would imagine that's Anthony Kalo.
Outstanding, Anthony. Good uniform.
Kalo is head coach at Westerville South, has a state championship. Coached the Wesson brothers at Westerville South.
You got to look good
about defense there. Ed Kalo and Scott Elkert could have a nice long conversation about defensive concepts sometime. All right. So we appreciate you guys. Follow us on Instagram, Press Pros Magazine. Want to remember to follow us on Instagram. We're trying to build our following there.
And thanks for the letters to Press Pros. Thanks for the emails. Appreciate hearing from you and all the kind words. And 99% of them are kind. And we appreciate doing it for you.
Yeah, we absolutely do. And follow us on Twitter at PressProsMag. Of course, you can follow us on Facebook. We appreciate all you guys. Come out and say hi when you see us out and about. Shout out the gentleman who came up to me at Marysville on Friday night and said hello. That was very nice. Great to see you fans out there, and we appreciate our Central Ohio readers finding us on Press Pros. And by the way, if you'd like to help us in Central Ohio, I see that the Columbus Dispatch is starting a weekly high school newsletter that you can subscribe to and pay for once a week. High school sports from the Columbus Dispatch. I would remind you that all the content on Press Pros is free always. So if you would, if you have friends who are into high school sports and they're like ruining the day that high school sports is no longer covered in Central Ohio, do us a favor. When you see us out covering a game and we cover it on Press Pros, retweet it, share it on Facebook, send it out. Help us get the word out that we are covering high school sports and that we're not making people pay to read it. So with that, thank you for joining us. Everybody have a great night. Mr. Folks, I will see you Thursday night at the next Ohio State basketball game. I almost said at the 10th loss in 11 games, but I'm not going to say that. I'll see you at the next Ohio State basketball game.
Something purple on you.
Yeah, very good.
All right, good night, everyone. Have a great week.